Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We caught up with Paul Bibby earlier today. He's MD and CEO at Ecora Resources, ASX company hunting iron ore in Madagascar. He talks to us about why the share price has come off recently, his thoughts behind that. Also, what their plans are for this year, have they got the capital to do it, and what are they going to be able to show the market? If you want our thoughts and opinions on that conversation, topics discussed, the company, and Paul himself, you can find that at cruxinvestor.com/club, where you can also find detailed company reports and analysis. We've got commentary from experts from around the world on a variety of companies and commodities. We've got training courses on there. We do summaries of all the interviews that we've done to save you some time, because we know you are busy people. But most importantly of all, we've got a wonderful, thriving community of investors sharing their thoughts and ideas with each other in a nice, friendly and safe environment, free from all that judgment, trolling and abuse you see elsewhere. And if that sounds nice to you, and I hope it does, go and join them at cruxinvestor.com/club. And we love your feedback too. So give us a like, leave your comments below. And if you want to see precisely what we talked about today with Paul, take a look in the description below. Paul, how are you, sir?
Very well. Thank you for making contact.
Well, yeah, not a problem. We wanted to hear a story. I had a few requests, and it's iron ore, which is a little bit topical at the moment. So
yes,
I appreciate you joining us. So where in the world are you?
So I'm in Melbourne. That's where we're headquartered. We're a small team, and we've got some iron ore prospects in Madagascar, a mineral-rich country, and we've got a bit of work ahead of us to prove up a good resource there.
Oh, well, okay. Well, thanks for that. Look, relatively new story. Look, small company, 17, 18 million market cap, kicked off in December. You put out 12, well, you've done 12 holes, put out 8 holes. Is it what you thought it would be?
It is actually, in terms of product grade, better than we thought it would be. We've actually, just in the last day, Matthew, you may have just missed it, we've done all 12 holes now in terms of reporting. And at the north and the south of our 6 kilometre strike, very good results. Surface intersects of iron ore grading 62, 63%. And right along that strike, 11 of the holes all intercepted iron ore, depths to 100 metres. So that's the most encouraging thing, because up until we did this drilling, we knew there was iron ore outcropping at the surface, high-grade iron ore. We just didn't know the extent. So this drilling program, very much exploratory, has proven that it's at least 100 metres plus in depth, widths of 150 and 200 metres, because we've only done 2 or 3 holes in a line, but extending right across that 4 to 6 kilometre strike.
Okay, brilliant. Well, look, with news stories, I quite like a news story, because it means that sometime recently you've actually sat down and come up with a plan about what you're trying to do. So you had a kind of few months before the go public in December to work out what you were doing. So can you describe what is it that the small team has set out to do in Madagascar? Is it just because iron ore is topical at the moment, or have you been at this a while?
No, we've my colleague John started the company. He initially had some very attractive upgradable banded iron formation projects on the east coast of Madagascar. So they were grading 30%, but one of the really attractive features of the Tra Marina project, it was 16 kilometres from the coast. So in terms of location, absolutely fabulous. Therefore, lower capital cost potentially. They've drilled 7 holes there. It confirmed that there was banded iron formation. The iron ore world went quiet for quite a while. And we also found the Beki-Sopa tenements. Initially worked on in the 60s by the French, the BRGM, then by the United Nations. And it showed that at shallow, trenching and pitting 5 metres deep and a few shallow drill holes to 19 metres, that there was iron ore at the surface. So we've had no doubt there was potential for a high-grade iron ore project. We've just had to wait for the right time to bring the company to market, to raise the funds, to get it underway. Okay, so
tell me this. Tell me a little bit about the team. So what's your background? What have you done?
So I'm a metallurgist by training. I started with the Rio Tinto group of companies as an 18-year-old, so straight out of school, and they put me through university, trained me up. So I had a very exciting time. I worked initially in aluminium in all stages, from bauxite, alumina, smelting, and even downstream. Then went into all the classic, CRA, Rio Tinto commodities, iron ore. Worked in Kalimantan, Indonesia, on the big Carlton Prima coal project, which was just a fabulous time. And then a number of they took me into the head office to try and teach me business and strategy and all of those good things. And I finished up in around about 2001 or 2 in the Pilbara at the iron ore mines, which was then called Hammersley Iron, now Rio Tinto Iron Ore. Where it all started for that company at Tom Price and Paraburdoo. And I was also had some people working at the port with the sampling and the ship loading and that sort of thing. So again, a very exciting time. And I've got a broad breadth of knowledge in mining and mineral processing. And so that's my background.
Okay.
And then I went on to be a manager and CEO for some smaller mid-tiered companies here in Australia.
Any of them work out?
Oh, no, it was good. I was fortunate to be picked up by a company called Zinifex, and we brought together the lead zinc part of Zinifex with Umicore's lead zinc companies out of Belgium and France and the like, and formed a company called Neostar. We put that together. I was based in London for a year or more, and then the global financial crisis happened and a few other strategic things as happens when you bring two companies together. The Belgians won the day. The Australians were sent back to Australia. I then got picked up by a company called Oceana Gold and worked in the gold space, gold mines in New Zealand and the Philippines. It was the end of the probably still the middle of the global financial crisis. So we had to really restructure the company, get on a stronger financial footing. That happened. And then I got into a couple of smaller gold and silver plays, really workout type companies. And as often is the case with those workouts, the board and management make the decision a bit too late, and you're not given enough time to do the dramatic things that need to happen. But we did okay.
But I guess smaller companies are a lot harder in many ways because you got so many. Well, you got different sorts of problems from like Rio Tinto companies where your balance sheet is there to support you, and decision making is a little bit more important. Almost you could argue with the smaller companies. Do you enjoy it down at this end?
Very much. I was fortunate that I had 24 years at Rio Tinto. I was moved around every 2 or 3 years, so I was given huge experience. And then I've gone into various, medium-sized and smaller companies. We aren't in a position to be a Rio Tinto. We can't have the support staff. John is very strong financially. I'm very strong from the process operating side. And together, we've got a very lean organisation. We've got the knowledge and the learnings that we've taken from our background. We are bringing people into the company to help us on contracts. We've got a fabulous geologist. And we've also set up a team in Madagascar, which we bring in and out, to do the work. So we're very lean and mean. We are not spending money because there's a huge pot of money behind us. We're conscious of the fact that we raised $5 million, and that has to go into drilling through this year and next, and we'll spend that very wisely to prove up a resource.
Brilliant. Have you been in country yet? Have you seen the asset?
Oh, many times. Yeah, many times. I've been traveling to Madagascar since 2016. I've visited all of the sites, which is terrific. Look, it's a developing country. It's a very poor country, but a very energetic country. People want to be part of things and get on. We've had some very well-educated Malagasy geologists working with us, and I've got to meet some people in significant positions, expats and also Malagasys to support us. In 2019, I spent 2 weeks camped in a 2-man tent at site as we did a geological survey. And we walked, I think it was 400 kilometres crisscrossing the tenement doing a magnetic survey. So I enjoy that hands-on. I don't have to be the person up here all the time. I like to be a part of it, but not interfering to get in people's way, but just so I know that things are being done properly and with a sense of urgency.
Brilliant. So you got John as the CFO, keeping the purse strings tight.
Yes.
So tell me about the geologist that you mentioned there. Who's he or she?
Yes. Yeah, Tony Truelove's out of Brisbane in Queensland, a place that you mentioned you've been. Tony's got broad experience, a lot of it in gold and precious metals, but he's also worked in iron ore here in Australia and India, and a very practical geologist. So I mentioned I was camping out in 2019. I took Tony with me. In the lead up to that, I got him to read up on all of the the French documents that we had translated from the BRGM's work, and all of our reports and internal reports for Becky Soper. And then we went to site. We spent a week in the office with our geologists and other maps and things. And then he had a very clear picture of what he was going to do. And then for that next 10 days when we were camping out, he walked the ground, and he did it on his own with two local village people from the nearby village, which is about 30 k's away. It's a very remote location, Becky Soper. And they were basically his guides, and it was terrific. So he saw things and added to the geological knowledge that really gave us confidence that this ore body wasn't just a superficial event. And that was then the start of it. And with Tony, we've planned the drilling program, which we did late last year. And he's continued to work with me on and off as we've needed that geological support.
Okay, well, let's talk about the country itself. There's a few names operating in there. I think people know Sumitomo. I think they've just gone back on site after COVID restrictions, right?
Yes.
And you got a Rio Tinto company there as well. Is it QIT? Is that right? I can't remember.
QIT, yes.
Yeah, okay,
yes, the mineral sands, titanium, QIT.
And we've had Base Resources on here a few times, actually, telling us about their ability to do business.
Yes.
So, it's an interesting country, growing country, and there's a desire to, get miners, mining, I suspect. So you've got a kind of good relationship locally because you're using and employing locals. Is that the idea of how you do business in country?
Very much. Yeah, very much. Yeah. So like I said, the team is John and I, and then we bring Tony in as we need Tony. We've got a small board. There's only 4 on the board, of which John and I are 2 of those people. You mentioned Base Resources. Mike Sturzaker is on our board. He's our chairman, very knowledgeable fellow. He has visited our projects in the past as part of his past life with Pacific Road Capital. And then he's been on the Base Resources board. So he's also got first-hand experience with Base, and he's visited our projects and contributed money in the past to the company to progress to projects. So we've got those. We're a member of the Chamber of Mines. So I've met the fellows from Rio Tinto, from Base, Black Earth Minerals, and a number of other companies that are working across Madagascar, just to share experience and have a presence there to promote the mining industry and get it moving along.
It's interesting, actually, because I read, I think it was a while ago, the QIT sort of encroaching on some of the wetlands there. So you've got to be quite sensitive to doing things the right way there. I think probably more so than anywhere else in a certain kind of way.
Yeah. Look, no doubt there are groups who are there with good intentions and well-meaning to help the country develop. So to do that, you need to be cognizant of the community and the social environmental responsibilities. So what we've been doing for my very first visit, and I said the little village of about 80 or 100 people is about 20 or 30 k's from our actual main tenement, number 10430. We contacted them first to say we're coming. We spent the night there. And then the next morning, we presented them with medical supplies, which they asked for. And the school teachers said, we'd like some chalk for the blackboard. So we took boxes of chalk, but we also took books and pens and colouring pencils. And we've done that 2 or 3 times. And the community loves that. When I was last there, which was, I said, October 2019, we sat down. Each little village like this has what they call the mayor, so that like the main person for communicating to the broader, officials. And he said that there's 2 or 3 things he would like help with. And the first and most obvious was to drill a well for potable water, because at the moment they're taking water from the swampy ground. So we're going to do that. When we get back there this year, towards the end of May, that's one of the community projects we're going to be doing. Others are helping them with transport and fixing up their roads so that they have better roads to get to the markets to sell their rice and their zebu, the cattle and so on. So all sensible things, nothing outrageous because it doesn't make sense. But every time we go there, the important thing is to engage, to listen, but also to involve them in the work. So we take the folks there. We might take 4 or 5 for a couple of days. They go back and then another 4 or 5 come, and they each get to share some work experience, but also some financial reward.
You've raised a bit of money, Paul. You've raised about $5 million. You've done 12 holes. You've got a program, 4,000 meter program that you want to complete now. To what end? What do you need to do by the end of this year to kind of get the market excited? Because if I look at your share price recently, people are not that excited about your drill holes, it seems.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Look, I'm actually hugely disappointed in what's happened since the 13th of April. Hugely disappointed because the results are fabulous. But what I think we've seen is a number of things. We've reported the results. And like I said, there's numbers like 7 meters at 65% iron at surface. So that's the outcropping material. And we don't know how big it's going to be. It might only be 10 or 20 million tons. But that's going to be, at today's prices, a fabulous earner. All right. But then below that, the drilling has identified, intersects of 70 meters at 44%, 37 at 47% iron. And then we've done some first pass processing tests, because what really matters is not what's in the ground, is what the product the blast furnace is going to see to make the iron to become the steel. And the product has upgraded very readily by crushing to 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters. So that's very simple, couple of stages of crushing, screening, and then low intensity magnetic separation, because the bulk of the product is magnetite, but some of the surface weather material is hematite. And that's been upgraded to 68% iron, low impurities, phosphorus at 0.4, alumina and silica at combined about 3 or 4%, which is way better than the average products going to market today, supplying the Chinese and the Japanese and the like, and the rest of the world. So the product grade for me as a metallurgist is absolutely outstanding. And the impurities, like I said, phosphor, alumina, and silica are also low and very competitive. We're going to put out a graph. I'll send you the latest presentation in the next day or two, which has a graph. Can I show this on the screen now? Might be a bit hard to see, but yeah, might be a bit hard. Look, I'm still putting this together.
Okay.
But there it is.
There you go.
What this is showing is all of the competitors, the Vales, the Rios, the BHPs, and their average grade is around 60% at 6 or 7% silica and alumina. Okay. Our test results are up here. Can you see that, Doc?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll send you the proper PowerPoint.
Thank you.
And what that's showing is we've got product grade at 65.5%. So that's the premium grade iron ore, which is going to be sought after, at just under 4% combined silica and alumina. So fabulous numbers. So I guess there's a bit of education we have to do. But also the
let's do that now. Let's do that now, because I think that's really important, because
okay.
people are very focused on precious metals and battery metals, and in iron ore, it comes and goes and ebbs and flows in terms of people's interest in it. So you've talked about grades. You've given us some ideas about the grades that are good, and you're saying, as far as a metallurgist, you believe these grades are good. What else? What else do people need to know? Are they looking at this going, well, how does this get at scale? Because there's probably a very large capex number at the end of this. So what should they be excited about now in your stage of development?
Fabulous question. We're early stage, so we haven't sat down and put the pencil on the paper to try and work out what the process circuit's going to be and what the capital and operating costs will be. What I can say is that we've drilled this. We're seeing good intercepts at surface, so low stripping ratio mining. It's going to be conventional mining, blasting, shovels, trucks, crushing. That's what they all have to do. And then we're crushing to 2 millimeters and magnetic separation. And our ideal opportunity would be to do that dry, but if it's wet, that's not a problem either. But 2 millimeters is coarse for many iron ore products, okay? Because you've got the two products, basically lump, which is a quarter of an inch, or 6 millimeters to 32 millimeters, and fines, which is less than 6 millimeters. Okay, so crushing to 2 millimeters makes this a fine product, which is the bulk of the iron ore that's traded. So that's part A. So our processing will be very simple: minimal processing, conventional mining, crushing, separation. Where our project at Becky Soper is 220 kilometers from the coast. Okay. It sounds like a big number, but if you can compare it to existing operations in the Pilbara, Tom Price, when it started in 1965, was some 320 kilometres from the coast. Paraburdoo, 380, which is where I live, so I know that well off. BHP's project's the same. The projects in Brazil are similar numbers from the coast, if not further. And so they're not difficult things to overcome. So what we need to do is prove up a resource that justifies the capital to be spent. And that's what we're doing with this drilling program this year. So this 4,000 metres of drilling will get us an inferred JORC resource. It will tell us the extent, both in terms of strike length, which is potentially a maximum of 6 kilometres on our main tenement, widths of several hundred metres, and depths of a couple of hundred metres. You multiply that together with the density. Look, we think we will have a resource by the end of this year of around 150 million tonnes of iron mineralisation. So then we can start thinking about what is the process, what is the product, what is the capital going to be. But from what we've done on our first round of testing, no optimization, is shown that the processing is going to be minimal, and then it's just going to be a capital thing in terms of road construction, access to the port, that sort of thing, which every project has that challenge. But I think it's going to be numbers. I think the best thing today to say would be less than 500 million rather than 5 billion for a 3 or 5 million tonne project.
Right. So that's what you're looking to build, and that's what people should be looking at you at. So at 17 million market cap today, clearly people not seeing that yet. So you say it's just about numbers. You've got to do some more drilling and prove up what you think is there, and tell the market that through the JORC report at the end of the year. That's your goal. That's what you're setting up today. And with $5 million bucks, can you do that, or whatever's left of the $5 million bucks?
Absolutely. The program that we've got for this year, the 4,000 metres, that is going to maybe eat half of the money. It's not going to eat the whole money. It's going to eat half the money. We manage it very tightly. We had a practice run October, November, December last year with the first 1,100 metres. That was all done remotely because we couldn't travel because of COVID. So lots of video, lots of phone calls, lots of photographs. So Tony, the geologist, myself, we could manage it. And I've also got people representing me in country with expat experience to be me as best as possible. Okay.
And what else are you working on? What other companies are you working on?
No, this is my only project. This is my only project. This is my focus. John and I we're both started at Rio Tinto at the same time. This is a project that John founded. I've been an investor since the start, and I'm now. This is my focus, and I want this to go out as a big winner. So
how much money have you put in, John? Paul, how much money have you put in, or how much has John put in?
Well, John's probably put in over the years plus $1 million Australian, and for me, several $100,000 Australian.
Right. Okay.
And I would love to put in more, but I, when you've got 5 kids and education and everything else, you don't have a lot of spare change. So
I feel the pain. I feel the pain. I'm in the same boat. Right. Yeah. But tell me about that. I know it's one of the, Pacific Road Capital. You mentioned. I can guess why. They're in for 5.6%, according to the last PowerPoint. But also one of the newsletter writers, John Tomazos, as well, is in there for like 5.6. Yeah. Has he put cash into this?
Absolutely. So I owe John some favours because, like I said, we went dormant. John Madden brought me in because they weren't able to raise the funds. Iron ore price had fallen, and he asked me, what am I going to do? So basically, I put the company on care and maintenance. We closed down the office. We had to move on people. All very sad, but that's what we had to do, because we had faith that these tenements had value and some promise. Then we had to wait for the right time. I was introduced to John Tomazos. As you know, he's out of North America, down in New Jersey. I spoke at his conference, and he liked the story. He put me in touch with half a dozen colleagues, and we raised $2.5 million US in a matter of days. Those names are on that list at the top of the shareholders list there. And that has then enabled us to do more work like the geological surveys, the ground magnetic surveys, prepare for the listing, and do that initial drilling. So that $2.5 million has gone into that. So the $5 million that we raised in December last year it wasn't diluted by those activities. It was then available for the future activities, which is this year's drilling, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, no, I like John Tommaso's stuff, actually. Good guy.
Yeah.
It seems. Never met him.
Very thorough.
Like
very thorough. It is, yeah.
Okay, so that's the plan. I suspect then the market's going to want to see those. When does this drilling program start?
End of this month. End of this month. So where we are in the south central part of Madagascar, there's a wet season right across Madagascar. And it basically means that you can't be accessing the site at the moment because there's no roads and bridges. It's very remote from about the start of December to the end of March. And this year it's been a few weeks later into April. So we're just mobilising now. Unfortunately, like a number of developed countries, they've got their next wave of COVID. The team I've put together in terms of geological support, driller, camp, construction, cooks and the like, transport, they are able to move because of the industry that they're in and move the people. So we have solutions to that, but they're going to have to move with a negative COVID test. So you got to go and get your test before and have a permit. But yeah, so that's the plan, and we're looking to get underway at the end of May.
Okay. Well, stay in touch with us. Let us know how you get on, because I think that'll be the next stage of development for the company.
It will.
If the numbers come back as you hope, then I think people may sort of pick up and take a bit more interest. Have you got any sort of plans about how to kind of get this story about what, your belief that this is good, the numbers are good? How do you do that?
Yeah, look, there's another news announcement to go out in the next couple of days, which was that graph I've showed you. It's in our PowerPoint presentation, which I'll send. I think we've also been hit with one of the requirements to get listed on the ASX is you have to have 300 new shareholders. So we had about 100, which were, mums and dads and friends. We had to get 300 new. So in that mix of 300 new, there was Mackenzie Financial out of Toronto that liked the story. They put in $1 million. And then we had to get a whole lot of others. So a lot of retail people. And I think what's happened this month is that a number of them have taken advantage of the volume because of the news flow. Then there's a number of people who like the story which aren't selling, and we need some more buyers. So hopefully through our discussion today, we can get in some more people interested and get some more buyers. Be assured that we're going to be working and focused on this. We like the story. The results are great. I guess it's awareness and continuing to do the work.
Beautiful. Okay, Paul, like I say, stay in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Terrific. No, thank you, Matthew. Appreciate your time. All the best. Thank you.